Knock, knock, Puddin'. Say hello to your new, improved Harley Quinn.
She's all you'd ever want. She's the kind I'd like to flaunt and take to dinner. But she always knows her place. She's got style, she's got grace. She's a winner. She's a lady, and the lady is mine.
Harley Quinn is one of the most recognizable comic book women and arguably DC Comics' most recognizable woman ever, even on par with Wonder Woman. This is ironic considering she didn't originate in comic books but in animated television. Despite being a relatively young addition to the DC universe, she has nevertheless become an iconic staple to Batman mythos, as the battered, mentally ill sidekick/lover to the universe's most despicable villain. She has also gotten extreme overhauls to her wardrobe, more so than other, much older characters, but has remained recognizable. What is it about her that is so iconic? What does her changing appearance have to say about her role as a sidekick? A lover? A superhero in her own right? Perhaps to find the answer, one needs to look at her evolution, both visually and thematically. Harley Quinn was originally a one-use plot device for an episode of Batman the Animated Series in 1992. When it was decided that the Joker jumping out of a cake in order to take policemen hostage would be too bizarre, writer Paul Dini created a female character to do it. Being friends with Days of Our Lives actress Arlene Sorkin, the two developed a unique character to fulfill the role, and Sorkin provided the voice. And then the Joker ended up jumping out of the cake anyway. But still, the Jester Woman caught on, both in TV and comic books, and continued to appear more. Harley not only became the Joker's most loyal and competent henchman, but his sidekick, lover, and comedic foil. Even then, she quickly grew into a major supporting character in her own right, teaming up with the likes of Poison Ivy and even Batman, as well as being a liked individual in the Gotham underground.
Good evening, child. Worship me, fools! Worship me!
Her backstory, written by Paul Dini in the graphic novel Mad Love and adapted into the 1999 episode of the same name, was that of an Olympic-level gymnast who used her athletic scholarship to study psychiatry in Gotham City. Harley sought an internship at Arkham Asylum and was immediately targeted by the Joker, who manipulated her into being an ally. After an escape and coming back gravely injured by Batman, Harley's love for the Joker drove her insane, breaking the Joker out and committing to helping him destroy Batman so they could live in peace. It is important to point out that later visual development of the character, as overly sexual and out of nowhere as it may seem, did have a lot of precedent created by her early cartoon and comic book appearances. The pigtails, the scant clothes, the fetish wear, all a part of her original character. What is probably the hang-up with future looks is that, even when covered from head to toe, she was still a highly sexual character. Harley didn't need to show skin in order to be a sex symbol. Up until 2009, Harley Quinn's appearances stayed relatively the same. Black and red motley jester costumes with a minor diamond motif to complement the Joker's playing card motif, a makeup mask combo, and perhaps most strikingly a pair of baby blue eyes that either contrast with her antagonistic nature or hint at her inner goodness. Extremely minor alterations here and there, and the reason has to do with iconography. Harley Quinn was still new, and her recognizability was still heavily tied to appearances in animated television. Not only that, she was still famous for one thing, and that was being the Joker's lover, meaning she was pigeonholed pretty strongly as one half of a matched set. As much as it was her personality that made her popular, it's really hard for personality to stand out alone against other more established characters. So what moved her closer to the mainstream from childhood nostalgia and comic book niche? Batman Arkham Asylum was released in 2009, and it was a perfect storm of opportunity. Combining the fans of video games, comic books, Batman the Animated Series, and Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, Arkham Asylum and its sequels helped to define the current aesthetics for the Batman mythos. Excepting Batman and the Joker, every other character had a major redesign to fit the game's tone, which combined the colorful but gothic look of the animated series with the dark realism of Christopher Nolan's film trilogy. Case in point, Harley Quinn. While originally having a design closer to the original, including being a reference to one of her most famous episodes, the design was retooled and voila! Goodbye Jester and...
Hello, nurse.
The strongest reference to her old uniform is the color pattern, with the black replaced by a more vibrant purple to make her stand out. This will be the last time Harley's domino mask will be a necessary part of the ensemble, and while not the first time she's had pigtails in lieu of her jester hat, this version definitely sets a trend. This version also has a dramatic shift from her comedic silliness to a much darker humor, and an extreme downgrade to her intellect. This is not helped by the fact that her sex appeal is cranked up to 11 in this game courtesy of the dominatrix nurse look. and her anticlimactic fight scene with Batman would be laughable if she hadn't been set up as the secondary antagonist up to that point.
Die, you big ugly bat!
And the fact that Batman immediately knows Harley is hiding something important in her cleavage feels more like exploitation than the joke it was probably intended to be, especially since this isn't the only time in the series that happens. The 2011 sequel Arkham City improves some aspects by giving her a more utilitarian but still sexy outfit and introducing her dip-dye hair color, as well as introducing her eventually iconic baseball bat. However, it would be remiss not to point out that the game still treats Harley Quinn as unintelligent, and there are constant rape threats by Joker's gang members. Only in the DLC Harley Quinn's Revenge does she get even an ounce of respect as a Batman adversary, especially as her intellect is spontaneously returned to almost successfully murdering Batman not once, not twice, but 3 times, only one of which did Batman prevent by himself. Granted, it has been justified by fans as Harley Quinn's codependence on the Joker meant she was following his flawed orders and downplaying her intellect to please him. But, and this is a big but, considering how she is presented immediately after in other media does not indicate others thought this was the case. The New 52, DC Comics' big revamp of its comic universe, only came out a few months before Arkham City, but considering the video game's advertisements did involve a lot of Harley's new look, it was probably influenced by it to some degree. Cross-platform convergence has been done before, after all. This is evident by the more violent and dark appearance of Harley in this version, and her use of the corset was really not original. Her much more violent and slutty behavior was not well received, and she wasn't the only female character who had that problem. The once playful and innocent clown turned into someone who looks, as some fans claim, like she came straight from a brothel. In addition, Harley is no longer the playful and innocent girl she once was. She is a monster, volatile, vicious, and violent. What makes things worse is that in a bid to backtrack this new Harley, there was an issue that had the Joker kidnap her, chain her in a room filled with motley bedecked skeletons, and the Joker claimed that she was neither the first nor the last Harley Quinn. This is extremely and seriously contradictory.
Joker seeks new hench girl?
Besides, it'll be nice to see the old gang.
One of them's dying to see you too, Puddin'.
Harley?
The one and only.
While it does reference the fact she wasn't Joker's only hench girl, it invalidates who Harley Quinn is. A strong woman who won't allow herself to be replaced by anybody, even in the harmful place she puts herself. She wasn't the first or the last, but she was the only one to truly emulate and equal the Joker. In 2013, when she got her own solo series and a different writer and artist, it was shown how this look could actually work for the character. Shorts were lengthened, corsets were improved, and the humor and compassion in her personality returned. The best example of this was right in the first issue, where she saw a dachshund being abused by its owner, and in a mad rage she cartoonishly dragged the guy behind her motorcycle while driving herself and the dog to a new home. While unorthodox, she was still on the way of becoming a hero in the vein of Marvel's Deadpool, although slightly more appropriate for children. Slightly. And it was in touch with her comic version in the mid-2000s when she and other Batman villainesses formed an anti-hero team together. Most notably, this era of comic book Harley was the first version of Harley Quinn to be subjected to the same acid bath that created the Joker. Here it has less to do with character expansion and more reason to lock in her new aesthetic, her skin becoming bleach white and her hair being split black and red. This is supposed to make it so she doesn't need her jester hat and makeup anymore, but it can also be seen as a way to make her insane love of the Joker make more sense. In that case, it makes her redemption arc all the more satisfying because even when she's drugged down to the Joker's level, she accomplishes something he never could. Change. The last and least influential of this phase are 2015's Arkham Knight and DC Superhero Girls. Least influential in that they were after so many other alterations but immediately before the next major one, so that they are only notable in their own demographics. Arkham Knight was the last installment of the Arkham series, and here Harley is a major antagonist. Since the death of the Joker in the last game, Harley not only became the crime boss of his gang, but came close to succeeding in her plans against Batman, and her failure was mostly instigated by the remnants of the Joker, and it's implied in the ending that Harley finally quit crime, although there's no material saying of what became of her. DC Superhero Girls, a cartoon/comic series/action figure franchise, was inspired by the trend set by My Little Pony and Monster High, as it stars several DC women in a high school setting and focusing on their misadventures. In this case, Harley is the Pinkie Pie of the main cast, and there isn't a lack of references to the character's real-life popularity. This series is relevant as it was designed to introduce young girls to the DC universe, and considering Harley Quinn is one of the main heroes, that says something. Both versions display new looks for the character, but both of these were greatly overshadowed, and one possibly inspired by, production photos of a certain film, rendering them just another micro step in the character's visual evolution. Oh boy. Suicide Squad, the movie most remembered as the better DC movie of 2016. A film so marred by production problems it's amazing there was a coherent narrative to it at all. Most disturbingly, the most coherent thing about it was a character who was supposed to be incoherent. With Harley's origin story summarized at various intervals and her character development having much more poignancy, she's practically the main character despite the movie trying so hard to make it Will Smith's Deadshot. Harley Quinn in this version is portrayed by Margot Robbie, who originally did not understand the appeal or motivations of a character defined by an abusive relationship. I just didn't understand how she could be such a badass and then fall to pieces over some guy. I found that really frustrating. However, after researching more about the character and the nature of dysfunctional relationships and codependence, she understood how Harley was not only a character people had fun watching, but one people cared about. Once I could view it in those terms, it suddenly made sense, and I suddenly had so much empathy for Harley, and after that it was all very straightforward. It was fun after all that. The Harley Quinn of Suicide Squad has a much brighter and wider array of color, particularly in her new hair colors. This may have been decided in part due to the other characters' particularly dark color schemes and the desire for Harley to stand out against them. She also has a notably eclectic style in this version, mixing sports gear with stripper wear. Her shoes, which Robbie picked out herself, are the perfect combination of that, being high-heeled platforms that resemble sports shoes. Interestingly, it was the short shorts that Margot Robbie liked the least about the costume, which was one of the strongest connections to Harley's previous looks. Other minor elements present in this version are the handgun, the baseball bat, and the diamond pattern on her thigh, this time in the form of a tattoo. Her relationship with the Joker in this version is also extremely different from most other versions. The Joker actually treats her not just as an equal, but as someone he genuinely loves. Even Harley, at a point when she was still mostly sane, recognized why he refused her at first.
My heart scares you and a gun doesn't?
And the Joker dipped her in acid this time as a test of her loyalty and his feelings. And they both passed. If the original drafts are to be believed, this did have to do with an extreme possessiveness, but this is only hinted at in the finished product. It is also notable that it explores the idea that Harley herself thinks she's living her life wrong, but she doesn't believe she can go back to being a good person.
Well, you would just... You can have a happy family and coach little leagues and make car payments? Normal's is setting on the dryer.
And even if she could, she wouldn't want to if she can't take the person she loves with her, thus she resigns herself to the status of bad guy. This version of Harley became so popular that Robbie's appearance was used as inspiration for Harley's new look in DC's latest revamp. This Harley switches between her Suicide Squad film look and an updated version of the New 52 outfit, but maintains the former's acid-bleached blonde locks with pink and blue dip dye. The latest major use of Harley Quinn was in 2017's Injustice 2, a sequel to the 2013 Injustice Gods Among Us, a game where Superman is turned into a fascist dictator after murdering the Joker. In that game, Harley was little more than window dressing to illustrate the loss of the Joker in the alternate universe, and the backstory comics started off with her being a mindless accomplice to Joker's genocide. However, her popularity influenced proper development into a lost woman who just needs the right people to help her. In Injustice 2, she is the trusted ally of Batman and his new Justice League, but still has some violent impulses from her past life. This is illustrated by a dream sequence where she encounters her dead lover, who encourages her to renew her murderous ways. This is disturbingly displayed with a shift from her new costume into her original jester suit. This creates an interesting commentary on her original look, that she chose it because of the Joker, and her moves away from it are indications of her growing independence from him. Harley also has an interaction with Wonder Woman in the game, who is the lover and accomplice of the game's evil Superman. As Wonder Woman is about to kill, Harley stops her to point out that they were there to save lives, not take them. Wonder Woman points out her hypocrisy by asking how much blood she has spilt.
Oh, bucket's full, honey. I was trying too hard to impress the wrong guy. Kinda like you with Superman.
The fact that she's met by a sword to the abdomen points out just how far Wonder Woman in this universe has fallen, while Harley has done her best to redeem herself. It is also this moment that makes the game's primary hero figure, Supergirl, realize that she's been fighting for the wrong side. One aspect of Phase 3 that is notable is that there is no shortage of references to her original costume. The animated feature Batman and Harley Quinn was drawn in the style of the new Batman adventures, and with it came the Jester costume, with some bonus commentary on her new 52 look. There's also an upcoming animated series on DC's exclusive video service with Harley in her jester cap.
And unlike that Deadpool cartoon, it's actually coming out.
What will the future hold? As of now, there have been multiple plans for Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in more DCEU films, and one has finally been greenlit. Planning production next year and release in 2020, we will get Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. What will Harley's relationship status be? What will she be wearing? What effect will it have on Harley's appearances in other media? And will it usher in a Phase 4? Only time will tell. Harley Quinn is garish, provocative, immature, and without filter. That is probably what makes her so popular. She is a woman who finds the confidence to act how she wants and wear what she wants. Practically every iteration of Harley in this essay chose how she looked, and when she didn't, it was played up how horrifying this violation of her autonomy was. This is possibly the feeling that happens when writers and artists actively mistreat her, use her solely as a sexy prop, and that is what causes fan backlash. From the perspective of the iconic turn in cultural sociology, it is proposed that this commercial reinterpretation celebrates aesthetic rebellion, but it exercises morality, especially with regard to female involvement in personal relationships in which situations of violence occur. It isn't about what Harley wears, but how the writers frame her in it. And when her character is written solely to be exploited, it is just as bad as the Joker's mistreatment of her, because she has so much more potential. That is why her New 52 looks contrast so sharply despite being the most similar to each other in appearance. One keeps the sex and the evil at the forefront while the other focuses on the independence and fun. And Harley can be consistently evil, as the Arkham series portrayed, and still be popular. But it's because of how strong she is by herself, despite her devotion to the Joker. People want to see Harley be herself so that they can be comfortable as themselves too. As sad as it is, Harley's story tells an important lesson to people. That it is okay to be who you are, and you don't have to be the butt of anyone's jokes in order to feel loved.
My fault. I didn't get the joke.